A character like Superman only comes around once every 1 to 2 decades, so we are experiencing what could be the introduction for what we see for the foreseeable future, and it was awesome. It feels like a universe I can't wait to see more. I want to know more about the Justice Gang or the Justice People, you know. I want to know more about what Hot Girl is about. I want to know more about the Green Lantern. I want to know so much more about Mr. Terrific. I mean, in fact, I hope he gets his own movie because that guy, he was so good. I feel like every scene he was in, he nailed. He was so funny, but at the same time, so serious. I loved at the end when pretty much they questioned, you know, oh, do you need help? And he's like, I don't need help. I'm Mr. Terrific. It was really well done, right? Like characters who are confident and know their characters and their abilities and their traits, like, and they lean into them. It's awesome. And that was a great example. The aesthetics, the atmosphere, the vibe, everything it seems like James Gunn is building, it feels so alluring. You know, as I said in my other video, it's got this 70s, 90s, modern day combination feel to it. And I'm here for it because it's easy on the eyes. This movie really does just do such a good job bringing you in and immersing you in just a world and universe that's already existed. And I just want to know more. I just want to live in that universe. I want to see more. And it makes me excited to think that potentially we could come back in time and just be able to watch a movie like this. And it's just extremely enjoyable with nothing. Well, the politics. See, so this is one of those movies that just seems so professional. Everything about it, from the editing, the sound, the visuals, it just all was presented at a 12 out of 10 manner. Regardless of, again, if you agree with the things being said or if you like the storyline, you have to admit it looks and feels great. James Gunn is basically a master at what he does. Even if he misses, he's still gonna get at some level a good movie. So it's one of those movies you can just keep watching over and over. You know, obviously if you get really triggered by those political conversations, you're not gonna like this movie because it's just gonna remind you of certain things. I feel like most people are gonna be able to just keep rewatching this movie because it's not an origin story, so you're not wasting time with things you already know. You're able to put it on at any point 5-10 years from now when we're on like the 5th Superman. I look back and it's gonna think, how is this movie gonna feel? The reason why I was thinking about that was because I hate to say it, but they're gonna eventually have to kill this dog. At some point in the saga, it will get dark at some point to help build up the main baddie. The dog's gonna go down, and it's going to be something that they didn't even think about in Marvel, right? Like the raccoon never died. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was so good because of the existential threat to his life. It'll maybe be the 4th or 5th movie. We might not see it. I mean, who knows where it's gonna happen, but that's gonna be tough. I guess like I'm projecting the loss of my dog that happened like 2 years ago in 12 days. My last dog, my first dog, my second dog, Brady, he's sleeping right there. He passed away at midnight on my birthday 2 years ago. It's crazy. Look, at midnight on my birthday, passed away in that spot over there, actually, in this room, obviously. So when I thought about that dog, I was like, oh no. I was, you know, not only from a writing perspective, when you present something that amazing, when you present the audience with a dog that we love so much. I mean, humans love dogs. We love animals. And he nailed it. James Gunn did a great job. Every time that dog was on screen, the audience was laughing their butts off. They were loving it. I was laughing. And when Lex Luthor takes that dog, I actually was pissed and I hated the movie initially because the first thing he did when he went into his house, his lair, after he knew it was broken into, was go to the robot. I'm sorry, the first thing I would have been doing is looking for that dog. But you get to the end of the movie and then it's not actually his dog. It's not in his habit system. It's not his dog. And in fact, actually, as I'm saying this, I'm recognizing Superman is incredible that he's that patient with someone else's dog. But going back to that scene, when Superman is looking for his dog, I genuinely had this level of anxiety and panic inside of me because I just thought to myself how mad and upset I would be if someone stole my dog like that. And knowing that I had the strength I had if I was Superman, it's actually, again, another testament to just how good of a person he is for not just bulldozing every human that stood in his way between him and that dog. In that moment in the theater, that's when I, for myself personally, that's when I had the most tension, when I was not sure about that dog, because we don't know about this universe yet. What if James Gunn wanted to give us this amazing playful start and then boom, the dog is gone, and it's like, oh my gosh, what universe is this? And again, woof, it's coming. You're seeing a lot of people complaining about just how many characters there were, from, you know, Green Lantern, from Hot Girl, from Mr. Terrific, which were all amazing. They all had very individual personalities. They all stood out from one another. But again, this was exactly what James Gunn and that team set out to do, right? Like, you can criticize them for giving too many characters and too much for us to understand and putting us in the middle of a storyline that already existed. I get those perspectives, but that wasn't what they were trying to do. Clearly, with no origin story, just throwing us into a DC cinematic universe with just no build up. They don't want to waste time. They don't want to do what Marvel did, and I can respect that. I've seen a lot of reviews talking about how this movie isn't quite that great, or it's interesting, or it's not quite what people were expecting, but the reality is everyone agrees that David Corenswet is a great Superman. Rachel is an amazing Lois Lane. Nicholas is an amazing Lex Luthor, right? So like the pieces are all there, and it's going to be an amazing saga, and I think there's a lot to work with here. David Cornsweet as Superman, he really, I mean, he does a great job. I mean, physically, he plays the role perfectly. He's huge. A lot of people have kind of issue with Robert Pattinson and, you know, him not working out at all for Batman, but David looked really good, and, you know, he plays the part. He's a gorgeous dude. He's seemingly very smart in, you know, the way they present him. You know, I really liked how they leaned into the glasses and the hypnotism. Clark Kent is played as a guy that is super awesome. Like, he was raised to do a lot of good. Like, he was raised with the right answer to, you know, every question he had. You know, like, he has no red flags, and again, that's what Superman's supposed to be, right? And I think in Man of Steel, the biggest red flag was him allowing his father to tell him no. That was almost a test where Superman should have been like, hey, I'm a man now, and I'm also a million times more powerful than you can even imagine, so I'm going to protect you because I recognize what's best. But anyways, that's a missed opportunity that no one talks about. I do appreciate that this version of Superman is very naive. He's very young. He's very idealistic. Like in the movie, he doesn't want to cause harm to the basically the dinosaur, which is, it makes sense, right? Because most newbies in life, most young people, they don't quite recognize how difficult life is and how you really don't always get the opportunity to get the ending you want. You just get the one that you can best make happen. Which brings us to how menacing and brilliant Lex Luthor is in this movie. Again, at some points I still will feel like it was a little bit too much, but from the spit between his lips to the way he looked at Superman, it was just insane how much he hated him. He played the character probably exactly how Nicholas Hoult and James Gunn had envisioned it, because it's amazing. I mean, it's just, the hatred levels are crazy. Lex Luthor is one of the most famous bad guys in all of, you know, comic books, which again is why one of these movies is so important, because not only are we getting Superman for the first time, we're getting Lex Luthor. I mean, do you remember Gene Hackman, Christopher Reeves, how big of a deal it was back then to be getting these characters for the first time? And, you know, we're experiencing that. The pocket universes were honestly brilliant. Thinking about the idea of being able to find little pockets between dimensions, it's something that I feel like Marvel hasn't thought about yet. And I appreciate that, because when you think about movies and when they go into sci-fi and try and develop these crazy thoughts and theories, there is a certain amount of research that goes into these topics, these ideas, because they can't just present really stupid ideas without levels of backing, or they can't present, you know, characters like Tony Stark without giving them actually scientifically correct information. I mean, I guess like even movies like Interstellar were based around real science, which is crazy to think about. Which is why Clark Kent's parents to me are such an interesting subject, because they're so beautiful, they're so kind, but they're also seemingly not the most intelligent people, but at the same time, you know, they do run a farm. It looks like they're able to take care of a lot of animals, which requires a lot of physical stamina, strength, as well as intelligence to make that all happen. At first I was like, are they? But again, you know, overall, when the movie played out and they gave the father the chance to come out there and converse and display that he's not just a bigger, heavier set dude with no brain from the, you know, the like a redneck, I loved it. I absolutely loved how much they cared for him. And again, as we said before, it just shows the people that raised Clark Kent is what made Superman, right? Not the message. I don't love what they did with that message, because that's the one part that I think bothered me or just kind of confused me, because look, any dying species from single cell organism to us is going to do what they can to survive and spread their seed or multiply. So I would get it if they were like an empirical people that were like, go to Earth, take it over, dominate. But it's like, yo, bro, you're the last one. And again, he did say be a good person and also rule. And, you know, not every ruler in history also was a horrible person. You know what I mean? Honestly, I was really hoping they corrected the message and found out that it was like messed with, because can you really demonize, people at their status? Because I think, you know, his parents were rulers of those people, and like to want your species to survive, I don't know. That's a place where I wish they would have made middle ground on, but again, not a big deal. Well, actually, for some people it might be, because that's an area where we're completely changing the comic book lore. His parents were never meant to be bad people, but again, we'll see where it goes. Again, that could be a huge thing that unravels later. Lois Lane, she was Rachel Brosnan, played her amazingly. I thought that she's probably the best Lois Lane we've gotten, because Man of Steel, I'm a Man of Steel fan, right? She wasn't the best Lois Lane in Man of Steel. I thought she played her really well. She's gorgeous. She's super intelligent. She does a really good job, you know, expressing expressing herself with her feelings. And you got to think about it again. It's got to be super difficult to be with dating a superhero, like whether or not you were dating Superwoman or Superman. That person is doing incredibly monumental things on a daily basis. And if you're just like doing something you feel super minute compared to that, it's going to create some insecurity issues. But at the same time, like it was cool to see that the interview between them and the way those dynamics work. We got to really see how Lois Lane is a genuine baddie to the game reporter. Like she really cares about that stuff. And I love that in that moment you can see David, Superman, Clark Kent, he just thinks that he's just like in love with this girl and he's just gonna like be a cute little fun thing because it's all about their love. And for her, it's like, nah, man, I'm about that paper, but I'm also about that truth. The way the beginning started when we got the text crawl on the screen, I thought to myself like, oh no, I was like, why wouldn't you just show us that? Why wouldn't we just get that in the flesh and just right off the bat seeing our boy just getting his butt kicked? You can't argue that it worked because again, it was a great movie and it ended up kind of, he did go right back into battle and get his butt kicked right away, but it would have been interesting to see them like have a really intense beginning where he just gets the beat out of him. It didn't, and it worked out, but I really love that the movie started with the dog as well. The Green Lantern, he was played so well. I feel like that I want to know more about him. His haircut was absolutely ridiculous. It's one of those characters too where you really feel like you're not going to like him. You feel like, oh gosh, one of these guys, but the way they portrayed him, the way he came in at the end and the way he saved everyone there, and Chewbacca Mabasha Stan, I don't know, whatever that place was called. I don't know, not a very memorable name. And the other place was like Bogolgia or something. Green Lantern, I feel like if he gets a solo movie, that could be really good. Now, while I do feel there's a few times in this movie where they talk a little bit too much, they go a little bit too much into their culture, kind of like breakdown, but I really loved when Lois and Superman were talking and in the background, the Justice Gang, they were fighting that whatever demon, because as Superman says, oh, they've got it, it's no big deal. It just shows like this is an everyday occurrence. It's just such a great world building element. That's what James Gunn is so good at doing. This whole team is good at doing, is that there's just so many world building elements. Not every superhero has to push the envelope. Not every superhero has to be Endgame or Infinity War. This is just one of those movies where you can put on and you just live inside of that universe and feel good about it. And that's kind of what comic books are about. There are going to be movies and times where you want to feel that insane epicness, but I think, where Marvel went wrong was that they got greedy, right? Like you have to wait every 10 years or X amount of time to have those big movies, and they were trying to do it every single time. And it's like, dude, just tell a good story. You tell a good story within a universe. That's what kind of frustrates me with the Jurassic Park, backlash. In my review there, which will be coming out soon, like I don't think that's a bad movie at all. Again, I recognize some parts about it are kind of ridiculous, like the event that sets off everything, no spoilers, is just like what, and certain things happen, but the movie was so fun. It's a Jurassic Park movie. This is not Schindler's List. Sometimes I feel like people are just too critical, and we have to remember we're here to see a movie and enjoy it. We're not all armchair critics. Like even myself, when I go in there, I have to remember, like, dude, you're Topher. You're just, even if we do grow to be a big channel one day, which I hope, I appreciate you, hit that subscription button. It's gonna be one of those things, you still just gotta enjoy it. Just enjoy the movie. And Superman's a very enjoyable movie. I'm genuinely glad I saw it. I'm gonna be seeing it with one of my best friends here in a few days. I'll be seeing it with my mom again, so I'm probably gonna see this movie 3 or 4 times in theaters. It's that good. All right, I think that's enough yapping for today. If you want to check out any of my other videos for my Joker's background breakdown, that's pretty cool. If you want to hear me talk about the Gladiator, there's other things I've talking about. Hit those links on the screen. As always, I appreciate you. Go out there and do something great.